Welcome to the first video actually filmed to be on the new channel, Shining with KimchiRednecks. So I am going to try and make a cherry bounce. So you've probably seen the recipe on moonshiners, and I've seen a few of them go through the forums and whatnot. I've tried a lightweight version of it where I just took a sugar shine vodka I made and infused some cherries and some seasoning in it and let it sit for a while. Came out pretty good. I liked it. I don't know if it's what cherry bounce is supposed to taste like, but it was pretty good. So now I'm starting from scratch. So I got cherries. Specifically, I got about 9.5 pounds of cherries. I am gonna run these through the food processor and frappe them up. Put little Camden tablets in it and let it sit for 24 hours, and then we're gonna check it. I may have to add a little sugar to it because in my experience, fruits and fruit juices don't have as high of a sugar content for starting gravity as you think they do. I think apple juice sits somewhere between 1.03 and 1.04. I think when we did our blueberry brandy, when we checked the blueberries after we'd blended them and let them sit overnight, I think it was only at like 1.02 or something like that. So in case these are a little on the low end, I've got a little bit of sugar to put in it, but we will get to that part tomorrow. I'm gonna blend these up, mix them with some water, put the Camden tablets in, and we'll be right back.
2 days later.
All right, it's actually 2 days later, but we're back, and I haven't set this up on the tripod yet, so we're going to do a little action cam view. So we've got, I don't even know if you can see that in the light here, but our bucket of cherry juice, which I have done the starting gravity on, and it came out pretty low. It was 1.02, so we're definitely going to have to add a little bit of sugar so we got some kick on this one. All right, so water's heating up on the back for the sugar. I have set some yeast out to warm up because I keep it frozen in my little mini fridge. So I'm using a mix of the KV or 1116 and a little bit of standard daddy yeast. So we'll let that warm up for a little bit, and then we'll bloom it with a little bit of sugar water, and that'll be ready to throw in here. The rest of this is pretty simple. Acid blend. We're gonna do, what does it say? 1 teaspoon per gallon. So I think I'm going to end up with about 3 gallons of water in here total. So 3 of that in there. Pectic enzyme, 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So, and a little bit of yeast nutrient, which if I remember correctly is also about 1/2 teaspoon to 1 teaspoon per gallon. It's kind of hard to over nutrient stuff, and it helps keep from stressing the yeast. Stressed yeast smells like ass, so make sure we get a little of that goodness in there. And to keep the acid blend from making it too acidy, we got our crushed oyster shells in our little baggie so they're easy to remove. We just drop that right in there. Give this a little stir, mix it all up, wait for the water to heat up. All right, peoples, I have dissolved about 5 pounds of sugar into a gallon of water. Now I'll pour it all in. All right. Well, it fits in the bucket, but it's a little closer to the top than I would like. Hopefully this one doesn't get as active as that other one did. Which one was that one? The watermelon? Plum. Yeah, we did a plum one, and while I was on a business trip and Melissa was watching it, it got super active and like bubbled almost out of the bucket. I think she'd have been really mad at me if it did. Probably. All right. So, first off, we're going to give this a good stir and get that sugar water mixed in so that we can retest our starting gravity. I've also got a little bit held off to the side because it's got to cool down, because currently it's a little too warm and it would just kill the yeast. So let that calm down a little bit. Grab my good old electronic thermometer, and 85 degrees. Not bad. That is perfectly serviceable. Get some Liquid, preferably without a lot of chunks in it. Ah, we're floating. All right. Well, there's no more room in this bucket, so whatever we're at, we're at. So we are somewhere between 1.055 and 1.06. That will work. Puts us a little shy of the butter zone, but good enough. So, yeah, all that's left is for me to bloom this, toss it in the bucket, and put it in the fermentation room, probably with a little aquarium heater in it to keep it in the good zone. And we'll be back in, what, 2 to 3 weeks, give or take? 10 days to 3 weeks, depending on fermentation. See you then.
2,000 years later.
All right, so it's been about 2 weeks or so. Tested the wash, we're at about 0.995, so it's fermented out. So this step is kind of a little bit more wine-ish, because, you know, wine's the first step to brandy. I may have mentioned that already. But we're going to,
a few thousand times.
yeah, maybe. We're going to pour this into another bucket with a filter bag so we can remove all the cherries and whatnot else that's in it. And then we're going to cap it and let it sit for another week or so. Normally I would let it sit for a little longer, develop a little more cherry, but my dumbass wanted to have this ready for New Year's, and I forgot to start in like August.
Honestly, I think we'll be fine.
So
We don't need it ready for New Year's. We have some for New Year's for us. Don't we still have some?
yeah, got a beautiful cherry color.
It is beautiful.
Now we're getting to the chunks. Kabloop. Ooh.
Ew, that's all the yeast.
Yeah, so we're gonna not pour that bit in.
Yeah,
That's...
let's leave that bit out.
So part of what we'll do with the straining of the bag here and not pouring in all the yeast is we'll let this sit, like I said, for about a week. That'll let what's in it drop to the bottom, and then we can rack it into another container and have a clearer mash. So
We'll see you in a bit.
We'll see y'all in a bit. All right, we're on the strip and run for the cherry brandy for the cherry bounce. Got that cooking in there. Got some frozen veggies helping keep the water cold. And we'll see how it comes out. All right, welcome back. It has been a few weeks since the last update on Cherry Bounce, mainly because we did the stripping run, and then we took some of these packages we got of Korean tart cherry juice and back flavored it a little bit while it sat to age a little bit. And now, as you can see behind me here, I'm getting everything set up to do the flavoring run. We're in the pot, tested the wash before I put it in, and it was sitting at about 20-25%. So we're below the 40%. Always make sure your low wines, these are low wines because they're from the stripping run, are below 40% or 80 proof. As I said, now we got the thump keg over here, which has been cleaned out with some 551 solution and rinsed so we don't get any of that nasty green stuff because it's been sitting for a little bit. Again, we've got some of the tart cherry juice because the recipe that we got for Cherry Bounce specifies that it's supposed to be like a French style cherry brandy, and French cherries are more tart than American cherries, so we're going with the tart ones. Now, to go with that and offset it a little bit, because we're doing Korean, I've got some of this cherry, I'm not sure what you would call it. It's not quite a jam or a jelly, but it's definitely not just blended cherries. But this stuff, I tasted it when I got it out, is a blended mix of Korean tart cherries and a little bit of, and you can probably see a little bit in there, a little bit of sauce that was in there with it, which is cherry juice and probably a little sugar and sweetener to balance it out. So this stuff actually tastes really good, by the way. If you just need cherries for something and you happen to be in Korea, no brand, get this stuff. Then we got a little pack. I don't know why they package stuff like this in Korea sometimes, but anything that's like a herbal cure or like a natural, like 100% natural fruit juice or pear juice or apple juice or cherry juice, or, you know, whatever. They package them in these little foil packs that are like 70 milliliters, it says. So basically each one of these is supposed to be like a dose size or something. I have opened enough of these damn things to make, if my line readage is right, 12, 24, 36 ounces of cherry juice and 600 grams of cherry blend. So if this stuff don't taste like cherry coming out of there, I don't know what the hell happened. So all that goodness is going to go down here in the thump keg, and we are going to run this, and hopefully out of that we will get enough distillate out of the end to make a decent run of cherry bounce. We got our steady drip to slow stream coming out. I've already pitched heads, so yeah, that's it. Now, one thing I would like to point out, we mentioned this in the videos on the old channel, but we haven't quite mentioned it on the new channel yet. Somebody was asking a question in the comments on one of the other videos. We are in South Korea. South Korea, it is legal to distill alcohol at home as long as you are A, not selling it, and B, not making it for distribution. You're not sending it to somebody else to sell. You're not selling it, and you're not giving it to somebody else to sell. If you're making it for yourself to enjoy and your friends, like with no money changing hands, you are fine. They make makgeolli and plum wine and everything at home here all the time. So I know in some countries distillates are a little different, but apparently in Korea, not so much. If you make it at home, it's yours. Rock on. And we're back. We've got our jar of cherry brandy here.
1.7 liters.
Yes.
And it says it's 130 proof, so I guess I don't need to proof it.
Yes, I proofed it after I ran it.
I did not read the jar before I set that up.
So what we're going to do here, because in my own little brainy fantasy land, this recipe comes from the original George Washington times, and it starts with cherry brandy. And pretty much all brandy back then was stored in casks. So if you're supposed to have a little bit of cask flavor, we have got about, since this is a small jar, we got about a inch and a half nub of toasted white oak. And a smaller, maybe 3/4 inch nub of charred, because brandy barrels are charred on the inside.
Because char.
Yes. So we're not going to leave this in here for an exorbitantly long time. We're not trying to actually age the whiskey this way because we're making cherry bounce with it. We're going to leave this wood in here for maybe a week just to get a little bit of that vanilla-y, woody mouth taste in it and a little bit of char. Then we're going to pull it out. We're going to throw some cherries and some other crap in it and make cherry bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're this far and we're just getting to the bounce part of the cherry bounce.
Sometimes the bounce takes longer.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
So we'll see y'all now. All right, so it's been about 5 days or so since the last update, I think.
At least.
So we are going to take this.
We have about 1.7 liters, which is
A little shy of 2 quarts.
it's a little over 7 cups.
Yeah, like I said, a little shy of 2 quarts.
So right now the process is we're going to add cherry juice, sugar, and the brandy and get them mixed.
So I had put the wood in here because I wanted to get that old school, like, barrel aged taste to it a little bit. But I looked at the recipe for the George Washington
Mount Vernon.
the Mount Vernon recipe, and it read to me more like a mold infusion, which I guess is kind of what it is. But I don't want to do just a mulled wine because that's just, you heat up the cherry juice, you put your seasoning and all that in it, you let it simmer for a few minutes, and then you strain it out and you pour it all into the liquor.
We're using part of George Washington's recipe and making shit up as we go.
Part of our own stuff.
We're doing the KimchiRednecks do. We're just making shit up as we go. Because apparently that works really well for us most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And Melissa is faithfully writing down all the steps, so if it doesn't show up in the footnotes below, it's all my fault.
I am writing it all down.
So, the original recipe called for you to take an amount of cherries that was seen somewhat exorbitant
It was, what did it say, like 11 pounds or something like that?
Yeah.
It was a bit much. So what we
weird.
got is 2 kilograms or 4.4 pounds of frozen, they're not quite crushed, but they're already pitted cherries. So we've juiced those out.
Yes.
We've squeezed the juice out of it, but they're still
We
obviously...
have almost 8 cups here. Yeah.
We got about 1.5 quarts, so probably about 6 to 7.
So currently I am mixing all the brandy and the sugar. We've got 3 cups of sugar, even though the recipe we have calls for 6.
Right. It
We're going to taste it before we...
says to sweeten to flavor. So we got our bags of cherries here.
Wait, we aren't sure about our sugar yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, in case anybody was wondering, this brandy was 130 proof when we poured this in.
And we left it
So
at that.
it had some octane to it.
Yeah, we just put a bunch of juice in, so it should be a little bit better. Although I did add sugar, so it might be hot.
Not bad. Might need a little more sugar. Okay, so we added a 4th cup of sugar to it. That has brought the sweet up a little bit, almost to the point where you think it's, well, at least I think it's almost too sweet. But we're going to add in our 4 pounds of cherries, tart crushed cherries, and those should hopefully bring the sweet back down a little bit, if they ever decide to leave the bag. Anyway, at this point, we're going to stir this up a little bit. We're going to put the lid on it, and we're going to set it. It says to put it in the fridge. We don't have any room in our fridge. We're going to set it in the cold pantry room because it's winter here and it's freaking cold outside. So that room's like 60. And tomorrow we will get our spices, put them in the spice bags, and chuck them in here, and then we sit and let it wait.
1 day later.
And we are back with the cherry bounce. She loves it when I do this.
I do.
Anyway.
At least he doesn't expect me to do those. That would be even more surprising. He might not be able to make it through a video.
So, we're back with the cherry bounce recipe. We've put our cherries in. We let it sit overnight. We have already put in the spices because some yahoo forgot to turn on the microphone.
So, instead of seeing us put in the spices, which, let's be frank, it's not all that exciting, I'm just going to tell you what we put in there. So, there were 4 cinnamon sticks, which we broke in half, 4 whole cloves, 2 1/4-inch pieces of whole nutmeg, and 1 to 2 allspice berries. I think we put 2 in.
Yeah.
So, the plan now is it's going to need some time. So for now, we're going to come back and we will report back to you in 2 weeks to see where our flavor is. So to be fair, we are mashing up the Mount Vernon recipe, the classic George Washington recipe, with the KimchiRednecks version. So in the Mount Vernon recipe, it does not go this way.
We made a few tweaks.
We tweaked. And we will put the recipe that we are, like what we're actually doing, in our description so that you can see everything that was done. But we had very much success when we did it similar to this last time, so we know that we like how that turned out, so we kind of want to stick with what we know works.
And that was starting with a sugar shine base. Now we've got a cherry brandy base.
Yeah.
So we want to see what the difference is. And bouncing back into this video, I lost a slipper.
That's what happens when you bounce in the kitchen.
Yeah, well.
Let's warm ourselves up with a little bit of cherry bounce.
So, we have had this, let's see, we
put spice
this.
in the 29th of December, and then we removed it on the 18th of January.
So we got about 3 weeks of spice and cherry maceration.
So the nice part about this right now is I can smell the nose on this. I can smell the spice and a little bit of cherry. So it's not very heavy, but they mix really well together, so they've melded together, which is nice.
Yeah, it's got a good smell. It's got a good nose to it.
That is nice. That is very pleasant. There's no burn.
It's good and smooth.
So smooth. I mean, slight bit of burn just now on the back end, but I think that was more my throat than it was the
Unlike a sweet cherry like a maraschino, or it's got that that tart cherry flavor in the back of on the back of your tongue.
So,
But it's also sweet since there's like 4 cups of sugar.
since
in
we
there.
made this with tart cherries, and tart cherries are good for inflammation, does that mean our cherry bounce is good for inflammation?
Yeah, it's medicinal. So now I can see where with some of the other cherry stuff we made, people who said that they were scarred as children from all like the cherry Robitussin and cherry NyQuil and whatnot might not like it because it does kind of have that thick mouth feel like
Well,
a
there's
syrup.
nothing left in there.
There's a couple drops. I'm going for smell mainly at the moment.
Yeah,
It's got a good smell.
I think those who don't like cherry because of the medicinal, because the spices do add a little more of a medicine, not
I wouldn't say medicine-y, but kind of
spicy.
Spicy.
Spice. Like it tastes like it has spices in it, which clearly it does.
obviously. That was the point of putting the spices in there.
But I think for people who don't like that because they're like, oh, it tastes like cough syrup,
It tastes chemically. Not this.
Oh, I was like, that doesn't.
The people who don't like cherry flavored medicines because it tastes chemically.
Yeah.
I can see where the spice in this might trigger that kind of chemically
Possibly. But
reminder in their brain.
that's okay because I don't have to share.
Yeah, we don't. It's ours.
Except a few of you out there know you're getting some of this.
So we still have to pour this to get the cherries out of it. We still got to filter it out a little bit. But
And I
other
think
than
we
that-
decided this is not going anywhere for. We're gonna shelf this for 5 months.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think we're gonna break this out for my birthday.
And so that means that there are no bottles leaving this house until after we break this out for his birthday.
Yeah, this is gonna sit for a good couple months before this
So
even gets bottled out.
next step is remove the cherries and then put it back in there and let it age.
But to answer the question that started this whole video, in that, does it make
we
a
had
better
question?
sort of, yeah. Does it make a better cherry bounce to actually make the cherry alcohol, the cherry brandy, and then make the cherry bounce, or to just take like a sugar shine and infuse it in?
So if I had to say, for me, the difference in this one and the other, but also we had a difference in cherries. We used different cherries in the other one as well.
True.
So there is a little bit difference there, but the tart cherry, I think, makes a huge difference in this one versus that one that had much sweeter cherries.
So that
So,
that
like-
little bit of cherry brandy and a little bit of aging with the wood in it to get the, aged flavor, and then going through the cherry bounce, definitely makes a more cherry tasting product.
So, can you do it this way? Can you do it the other way? Absolutely, it works both ways. It
both
just
are
depends
good.
on how much cherry flavor you want to get. But I think the other one had a deep cherry flavor after the longer it sat.
Well, yeah, the longer they sit, this is one of those kind of liquors. They say the longer it sits, the better it gets because the more it matures. All the more the spices and the cherry and everything.
Yeah. So
Meld
when she
together.
a little bit old, when she like 5 months more older, we'll let you know.
Yeah. But for the purposes of this video, yes, both are good, but if you want to go through the trouble of making the cherry brandy beforehand, it adds more.
Yeah.
It adds extra to it. So, we're not mad at either of them, but
But if we got to choose between them,
this is gonna be my birthday surprise. It's not really a surprise, but surprise.
it's also going to make a lovely cherry sipping cream.
Ooh,
I just made your day.
cherry
didn't I?
cheesecake.
Do you want me to make a cheesecake sauce for it?
Well, I was thinking like making
You
the
want it
cheesecake
in the cheesecake?
In the cheesecake.
Oh, I have made a Chambord cheesecake before, so I know how to do that. I can do that.
Make a cherry bounce cheesecake.
You want a cherry bounce cheesecake for your birthday?
That might be a video all on its own.
I need to write that down because otherwise I'll forget it and you won't get it for 6 years.
Right.
Watch me. I'm not crazy. I know myself. Look,
They are good. The woman can cook. I mean, there we go. It's on the board.
it's on the board. It got to happen now. And now in every video, everyone's going to watch to see how long it stays on the board to figure out when your birthday is. Because this man don't like to celebrate nothing.
Not really, no.
No. But All right, so cherry bounce.
Success.
It's amazing.
It's good as is. It will be magnifique
I'm not gonna lie.
in a little while.
It's gonna be hard for me to keep my hands off it for a while, but I'm gonna put it to the back, turn it around, and put a little sign on it that says, "Do not touch till Chuck's birthday." That's the new plan. So, y'all, like, subscribe.
Do the internet stuff.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Call it a midlife situation.